Presiding Officer, last week John Swinney claimed that he became aware of issues facing Alexander Dennis a few weeks ago and was doing what he could to help the company. But that is not true. John Swinney received a letter almost a year ago directly from the company setting out how his decision to buy buses from China instead of from Scotland was putting the company and jobs at risk. He did nothing for the skilled workforce. But last week, as usual, he tried to find someone else to blame for his own failure by talking about UK procurement laws. Laws that did not stop Greater Manchester Mayor Andy Burnham from buying Scottish buses, but somehow stops this SNP Scottish Government. Since that warning almost a year ago, how many buses has the SNP Government ordered from Scottish companies?
First Minister.
Mr Sarwar is correct that I engaged with the company in August of 2024 when I received correspondence from the company, and I met them again in September. And as a consequence of that interaction, we established work for Scottish Enterprise with the company to support the company in securing its future. So that work was taken forward as a consequence of that dialogue, and obviously the company then contacted us in the course of the last few weeks with their more immediate situation. In relation to bus orders, since 2020, Alexander Dennis has secured orders for more than 360 vehicles through Scottish Government funding programmes, and Manchester have ordered 160. So 360 through Scottish Government funding programmes, 160 from Manchester. I hope that indicates that the Scottish Government has been supporting Alexander Dennis.
Anas Sarwar.
Presiding Officer, John Swinney did not answer the question. Since that letter almost a year ago, 0 buses ordered from Alexander Dennis. 0. So he can try and waffle all he likes, but he can't escape from the fact that his government has the powers and the resources to act, but has failed to do so. The Cabinet Office has clearly set out how the SNP Scottish Government could have helped ensure contracts go to Scottish manufacturers to support Scottish jobs. He could have applied social value criteria, which helps domestic suppliers, or he could have considered a direct award. He did neither. Now, with the UK Procurement Act, the SNP Government can disregard bids from non-treaty suppliers, which includes countries like China. So did John Swinney not understand the law, or was it the usual SNP attempt to pass the buck, find somebody else to blame, and show no interest in actually doing his job?
First Minister.
I think if Mr Sarwar was to look carefully at what the company themselves have said, they've expressed their appreciation of the engagement with the Scottish Government on all of these questions. So the company, who are the only ones I'm interested in here, are the company and the workforce. The company have expressed their appreciation of the sustained engagement of the Scottish Government in supporting their operations. Now, of course, through a number of different schemes that the Government has put forward in Scotland, we've provided £58 million of funding for zero-emission buses since 2020 through the Scottish ultra-low-emission bus schemes and the Scottish Zero-Emission Bus Challenge Fund. So that just fundamentally holds Mr Sarwar's argument, because what that all contributes to is the fact that the Scottish Government has allocated 360 bus orders through our funding programmes to Alexander Dennis.
Let's hear the First Minister.
And that has been part of supporting and assisting the work that is undertaken at Alexander Dennis. Now, the Scottish Government...
Mr Bibby, thank you.
The Scottish Government, as I explained to Parliament last week, is engaged in a sustained dialogue with the company, with various other interested parties, to support Alexander Dennis. Those discussions are ongoing. We are talking to the company and engaging with the company on a regular basis to find a way through these challenges and to encourage more orders to come to Alexander Dennis, and that's at the heart of the approach the Government is taking.
Anas Sarwar.
Presiding Officer, the workforce don't need engagement from the Scottish Government. They need contracts from the Scottish Government. Jobs come from contracts. And the reality is there have been 0 buses commissioned since that letter from almost a year ago. So the SNP needs to up their game rather than the usual waffle, because it just proves why Scots are sick of this SNP Government and its incompetence. After 18 years, they're out of ideas and out of time. Now, I told last week how a fortnight ago an SNP MSP said that John Swinney had 2 weeks to come up with an idea to save his leadership. So let's look at what he's come up with. 1 in 6 Scots on an NHS waiting list, John Swinney's big plan,
Sarwar.
an app that's been promised years ago, and the merging of just 2 health quangos. Are schools facing a behaviour crisis? John Swinney's big idea, laminate bullet points and put them on the wall. Scots angry at their failures and the SNP back in crisis. John Swinney's big plan, quick, press the big panic independence button to try and save my skin. Isn't it the case that we will only create jobs, only save our NHS, only improve our schools and deliver for Scots if we get rid of this tired and incompetent SNP government?
First Minister.
Isn't it interesting that Mr Sarwar's interest in the workers of Alexander Dennis lasted 2 questions, and then he gets on to his usual posturing in this Parliament of little substance that is before us. That's the performance of a weak man in front of Parliament today. So,
Thank you. Let's hear one another.
I'll tell Mr Sarwar what I've been doing this week. Presiding over a government that's delivered, for the 10th year in a row, Scotland at the top of the list of inward investment successes in the United Kingdom, other than London and the South East. 10 years in a row under this SNP government. We've seen a rise in positive
Let's hear one another.
For school leavers. We have confirmed this week that we will scrap the 2-child cap, ensuring 20,000 children will be lifted out of poverty. In the same week as we commit ourselves to lifting the 2-child cap, Anas Sarwar is toadying in behind the Labour leader in the United Kingdom to send 50,000 children into poverty with a welfare reform bill. Scotland can see that Anas Sarwar is linked to a UK Labour government that will put more children into poverty when my government will lift children out of poverty. That's the Scottish Government delivering for our people.